Hey guys, welcome back to the Hearthstone Legendary Series. Our second semifinal is about to get underway between Savjz and Gaara. We have KitKats waiting in the finals, anxiously to see if we can keep up this streak of amazing luck, or whether or not he'll be taken down. A couple of interesting storylines here. Savjz, of course, is a player that has made his name through the Open, and if he gets through, he's able to qualify for the finals. It'd be great. KitKats is yet to have his first real tournament breakout performance, and what a way to make that one memorable. And also, Gaara, of course, if he gets through, then it's an all-tempo Storm Finals again.
Which I'm sure you would love to see. We had Magic Amy versus Hyped in, I believe it was 2 weeks ago.
Yes, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, so that was another all-tempo Storm Final. And Gaara coming into this one, he's actually the only player to 3-0 today, and actually the only series to not go 3-2. So
yeah,
he's
everything has been super intense, and it's been a long day, but probably the most unforgettable day in all the Legendary Series so far. I mean, what a way to end the regular season. Next week, guys, we'll have some fun show matches. We'll have some small tournaments with some money on the line. It's going to be a different format as well. It doesn't count any points or seeding towards the finals, but what we'll have is some great players to have for you guys.
Yeah, leading up to the LAN, which I believe is on February 13th and 14th. Every weekend up until then, we'll still have some fun events for you guys happening on stream. We won't be leaving you guys out to dry, but that LAN, of course, will be incredibly fun. So make sure you guys, of course, if you're in the area, you can stop by. If not, tune in online, but it's going to be great. Great Hearthstone.
All right, we got Mage versus Warlock, Paladin versus Mage, and then Druid versus Paladin. So a lot of things have aligned, so that way it's not going to be a mirror match. It could have been Mage, Paladin, Druid, Warlock. Keep in mind that Savjz is also playing the Fatigue Mage, and Gaara is playing the mid-range. Is it a mid-range, like Tempo Mage? I don't know. It's like a weird one with Kazan Mystic.
Yeah. Value Mage, Tempo Mage, mid-range Mage. There's a lot of different names that you could give it. A lot of different identities that it can mold into, but this is the series, one of the series that I was looking forward to happening today if it got there, because I have a lot of respect for both of these.
I heard us screaming on chat because right now the stream's on delay and he just got killed this time again. I messaged KitKats and I said, "How could you do that to a poor young man from the Netherlands?" And he said, "Isn't that the sickest match ever?" So.
That was okay. It's hard to put it in words. One, how unlikely that is.
I think if I were to put in the likelihood of that happening, was probably the same. It was probably around the same caliber as the Big Bang happening. Someone calculated the odds of human life being able to evolve and like succeed after an explosion. It was like 0.000007 to the end 17th or something like that.
And the thing is, it still would have been crazy, even if it just happened to KitKats like 3 times over the course of an entire tournament.
Right.
It
but happened 3 times in the same series.
3 times in the same series and twice in the same game.
Yep.
Nuts.
Can't spell KitKats without KT.
You can't. That is correct. Very Dr. Nice.
Thank you. All right, Gaara. Gaara's gonna start with Handlock here, and we go to Fatigue Mage. Fatigue Mage against Handlock. Well, this one can be really tough. And I know that these guys have been staying up really late. They're both European players. They could be exhausted by now.
You can actually see the exhaustion on Savjz right now. If you compare him now to how he looked in his series early in the day, he actually looks quite a bit more tired. And that can play a lot into decision making. It's hard to prepare your body for like the time frame of this tournament. Like, fix your sleep schedule. It's hard to adjust your sleep schedule enough to in preparation for this tournament, especially from a player from Europe.
Tice was robbed. I've been mentally afflicted by that series.
You have a long fatigue mage versus handlock match.
I mean, I'm going to be thinking about that match
think
for a
about
while.
it.
There's so much I wanted to say at that moment, but all I could think about was like somebody needs to donate to this poor kid.
You're gonna have nightmares about like Kel'Thuzad's parachuting down into your bedroom.
Yeah. Very quick turns from Savjz to polymorph. He's getting right down to business here.
Whoa, Cairn in handlock.
It's interesting. I guess it's for him to fight against Druid.
How does Artosis say Cairn? Karn?
Yeah, he says Karn. Don't be like that. Don't be like Artosis.
Where do you get Karn from?
I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea. This day has been so wacky.
So he's just playing pretty quickly.
Yeah, there's not too much to think about. The only thing that you can consider is Cone of Cold and Hero Power, but
Yeah.
the stall I think is really powerful as well.
Yeah.
Doomsayer is interesting because Handlock is not obligated to play anything because they're not at 10 cards.
Could play Cairn.
Could be a patience issue too. But maybe Gaara just drops Cairn and just lets the 4/5 body die
Yeah.
and has another 4/5 on it.
That's not the worst thing in the world. You're still going to have something on the board for next turn. Which is not something that you can usually happen. A 4/5 is one of the best case scenarios for what can be left on the board after a Doomsayer. He decides to pass.
But now this gives an opportunity for Cold Light Oracle to mill a few cards.
Well, Sunfury Protectors, I'd say, is one of the best cards to have milled.
Iron Beak.
That is
Growls.
not, though.
Yeah.
You know one Doomsayer is out of the way because he didn't...
Right, or just like to keep your
Echo.
hand free so that way you can silence frozen minions.
Yep.
Because most likely Cone of Cold will come out.
Yeah. We talked about it a little bit
Or,
earlier,
I guess
but
Blizzard.
Handlock is a very... Drax is a very important card in the Handlock versus Fatigue Mage matchup.
I don't know if Gaara's playing Draxus though.
It's possible.
It is possible. I mean, of course, every Handlock player in their mind thinks about adding it, but it's just... I don't know if he specifically likes playing Draxus.
Yeah, there was a long time...
He hates Harrison Jones so much that for a long time he was playing Bloodlust and Shaman instead of Doomhammer.
It was a long time where Handlocks were actually not running Draxus. Like, it was not a card that you would rarely ever see in Handlock. Because Handlock's been around for so long, it's never, like, died out. And it's always, the core of the deck has always been very similar. Like Molten Giants, Mountain Giants, Twilight Drakes, Shadow Flames. But now maybe their Handlocks might go back to not adding it in. Fatigue Mage becomes more popular though.
Yeah.
It's almost an
think
auto
so.
include.
The Alex Strauss I think is really clutch though, for sure.
Against, is it even against Handlock? Sometimes you can get to a point where you're not activating their Molten Giants.
I guess at least you'll be able to accelerate. Like, say they don't play Draxus, you can accelerate down to 15. It's the whole point is maybe you have flexibility. It's also an 8/8 too. So.
Yeah, you can also use it on yourself as well. Like if you have Ice Block active and need to live one more turn to be able to survive Fatigue War. A lot of uses in Fatigue Mage in particular.
Yeah, for sure.
Huh. This is a tough spot.
It's okay as long as the board stays relatively small so that Cone of Cold has maximum effectiveness. You
Yeah.
still have the explosive sheet for another 2 damage sweep.
But you also have to worry about like both those big creatures on the board right now. You're not just worried about clearing them. There's a lot of Cairn, even if you clear it, still puts a 4/5 on the board. And like if you allow the Sylvanas to steal like a Sledge Belcher or really any body at all that the mage is going to put out. It's just another thing you have to deal with.
It's tough because you don't want to be life tapping either, right?
No, because it puts you lower, and it also, I mean, you want to get closer
Fills
to
your
Molten
hand.
Giants, and it fills your hand, and it gets you closer to fatigue, which is exactly what the mage wants you to do.
I think you want to position Dr. Boom to the far left, right? So that way it plays best around Cone of Cold.
That way, no matter what, you're going to be having one of your minions able to attack. One of your big creatures able to attack, because you spread out your 5/4, your Sylvanas, your Karen, and your Dr. Boom enough.
Okay, well, far right doesn't really make too much of a marginal difference, I think. Actually, it does. It freezes the entire board, I suppose. Oh, with the big game hunter draw, though, that allows him to pretty much sweep everything and kill off Dr. Boom.
Yeah, that big game hunter off the top was a. Oh, and
Wow,
double
best
one.
effect.
Nice.
Well, to be fair, Gaara also had some really good rolls in the previous series against Amaz.
Yeah, only 3-0 of the day. That tells you a lot with how that series went down. No big threats to place. No threats really at all to place. Molten Giant's not able to be activated.
Yeah, and I think you're not really afraid of taking some damage, right? Because you want your Molten Giant to come out. Otherwise, if you stay too high health, then you're going to you're going to be having these Molten Giants that are pretty useless. I mean, it still looks like there's a healthy amount of cards in Gaara's deck, but it looks like we're going to be coming down to the final 10 pretty soon.
I think Defender of Argus might be.
Yeah, it seems reasonable. You put out a decent amount of power.
And you take it out of ping range, like trade ping.
Yeah, oh, okay. So he doesn't want him to echo Medivh, that big game hunter.
Yeah, that's smart.
Cone of Cold with Cold Light. Antique Healbot as well. Oh, he holds.
I think he wants to try and get maximum value out of that Antique Healbot.
Right. I mean, there's no pressure, like, or no need to drop something, right? Just because for the sake of it.
Yeah.
It's so hard. This deck is so unintuitive sometimes. I try to like discipline myself and like say, all right, I'm gonna learn this deck a little bit more, and I sit down, I play 2 games of it, and I'm like, screw this, I'm gonna play something else. All right, Gaara wisely tosses away Immortal Coil because he doesn't want it to fill up his hand unnecessarily.
Yeah, because he knows that he doesn't want to even use that to draw a card, because it just gets him further into his deck. Wise choice.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Molten Giant can finally come out, though, thankfully for Gaara. Savjz, in the meantime, he's got some stall mechanics, including ways to fill up the hand, too, and get Gaara down to those last few cards. Deathlord is really interesting, too, the way it interacts with all of Handlock's creatures.
Yeah.
It's like it pulls out Jiraxxus, it pulls out, you know, the Giants. It's so scary.
Yeah, especially when he's getting to the later portions of his deck.
Right.
And he hasn't seen Jiraxxus yet. Like, the best time to play Jiraxxus in this matchup is as soon as you can. Because a lot of times the 6/6s might even be more valuable than the 8/8s, your Molten Giants.
All right.
Can't get BGH, which sometimes Fatigue Mages can have 3, 4, 5, 6 BGHs.
So then what does Gaara do from here? If he pushes through, he summons yet another minion. Could be a Molten Giant. Or, sorry, a Mountain Giant. It also could be like a Twilight Drake. Oh no, actually both those got polymorphed, so.
No.
So does he have any other legitimate threats in his deck?
Mountain Giant and Jiraxxus, I think, if he plays Jiraxxus.
Okay. He could also just have Like Alex Straza instead of Draxus as well.
That's possible. We know that he burned one Sunfury Protector, played the other.
Maybe a Farseer?
Oh yeah, Farseer is possible as well.
Alright, well if you silence it, there's nothing coming out. It's fine. It's protecting his life total essentially by doing that. Echo of Medivh. So you can play a Coalite Oracle, Echo of Medivh, and play a...
Death.
Well, actually, you can Frost Nova at that point. Actually, there's a lot of plays here. Because you can set up a minion base where it has a really strong Echo.
You could Kona Cold, Coldlight Oracle.
Yeah.
And Echo of Medivh. How would you...
No, you can't.
You would overdraw on that situation. Ooh, okay.
Oh, I think he's gonna try to double Cold Light and then...
Double Cold Light for burst.
Yeah. Echo, maybe? Double Cold Light or Echo? Oh my god, that's crazy.
That's nuts. Cold Light Oracle essentially becomes sort of a...
Duplicate.
Like a really weird way... A really weird win condition later
really
on
bad.
in the game.
Yeah, that's really bad because now these Cold Light Oracles are almost guaranteed to go off.
Yeah. Because once you get to fatigue, a Cold Light Oracle effectively is like a nuke. The later the fatigue goes, the more...
Oh! He has Ragnaros in this deck.
Whoa!
And Ragnaros is one of the keys to like pressure the fatigue mage significantly.
Alright, so no Jiraxis.
I think Gaara's dead. He can't really pressure Savjz enough to kill him. The only hope is that... No, he doesn't have any way to actually press in. Like, even if he pops the ice block, there's just so many ways for Savjz to stall and let fatigue do all the work. And even then, he's got Alex Straza to bump himself up.
Yeah. I mean,
this was very well done by Savjz.
If he echoes and Cold Light Oracles this turn, how much damage could he put out? Double Cold Light Oracles. That would be 3 plus 4, 7 plus 5, 12. Plus 6, 18. He'd kill him if he did that.
Hold on. So he took his first fatigue damage just now, right? That's his first. So he'd take 2 plus 3. That's 5.
Okay, so I thought he was on a second fatigue damage.
So 5. That's 9. So 9 plus 5, 14. He'd take his 6th point of damage, which is 20. Oh, you're right.
Yeah,
it is lethal.
He'd kill him.
I'm pretty sure it is. Because he's drawing
2
5.
Plus 3. Yeah, 2
it's
plus
just 2.
Yes,
2 factorial.
4, 9.
Yeah, I think he calculates it.
Yeah.
Wow, that's actually a pretty interesting puzzle. Oh wait. No.
Yeah, he's.
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
he's dead.
okay, yeah, he's.
My hand is too full.
Yeah, really nice math counting here, but ends up being the lethal kill, and we have Game 1 ending for Savjz, and that was a pretty well played game, gotta admit.
Yeah, it was a little bit unfortunate because deck doesn't run Jiraxis.
Right.
Ragnaros, which is another
Ragnaros
key
is the second
card.
to last card.
Yeah, another key card. It was second to last, and then it got burned. And I mean, if
Well,
you had drawn it by that
the
time,
burn
it was
doesn't
too
really
late.
matter. It's just at one point when the so when the fatigue mage has you decked out and starting to take fatigue damage, and they have like 2 or 3 freezes in hand, and you have no way to guarantee to pop it, like a hunter.
Yeah.
The game's over because you
You're
can't.
done.
Because then they just continue to bomb you. So at one point it was just like just way too much. So very cool game from Savjz, and of course this deck is very annoying to play against too. There's also like not the fact that its power level is pretty reasonable, very high up there, but also the fact that it's just so mentally draining to face off against it.
Yeah. Sometimes it can be mentally draining to play it as well. There's a lot of tough decision making. It's tough to sort of visualize your wins and your win conditions because it's fatigue mage. It's tough to think that many turns ahead, where you're getting into the.
Well, you have some time to think ahead.
You definitely do have some time to think ahead,
Gosh.
It's a hard deck to play, and sometimes that's satisfying for a lot of players.
Alright, well, this one will be much faster paced. We have Paladin versus Mage. It used to be a joke that Paladin games took forever, but now Paladin games can be pretty quick.
Yeah.
The tempo of the deck can actually accelerate very quickly. And against this deck specifically, I don't know. I always feel very weird about mid-range Mage because I feel like sometimes the draws are just bad. Like, you just draw the wrong side of your curve, and you get really awkward draws, especially if you have secrets.
Yeah.
Like, I know Mad Scientist is supposed to help with that, but a lot of times if you just draw the secrets and you draw, like, the heavier cards, then you just miss the train, and then all of a sudden you get run over. All of your plays are pretty awkward.
Yeah.
But I guess that's partially why Freeze Mage is so good, because even if you draw those secrets and those really expensive stuff, you still have so many draw in your deck that you're making it really consistent.
Yeah. This deck, though, is sort of similar and reminds me of the deck that StrifeCo ran when he made his run through. Was it DreamHack?
I will fight with honor.
And so it does have the potential to win a lot of games.
Well, StrifeCo actually made, I guess, the first iteration of Fatigue Mage in a way. Its main
Sort of, yeah.
condition was just to wait out and, like, just beat you through sheer determination and will.
Just not even drain your deck, but drain you.
Yeah. Alright, Mad Scientist, pretty good.
Yeah, this is a decent start for him.
Yeah, this is, like, Shielded Minibot technically gets a 2-for-1. Or I guess a 1-for-1. I guess it takes out the draw, but at the same time it survives. So it's a very efficient minion.
Yeah. Water Elemental can actually be a pretty problematic card for Paladins to be able to deal with.
That's amusing. So Mirror Entity got pulled, and then he drew the second one.
That's rough.
It's okay. Not the worst outcome, but definitely not ideal. Water Elemental, that is definitely a problem, though.
And this Paladin from Savjz was was slower, right? This is the more greedy style of Paladin. I think that might have a little bit better of a time against this type of mage. It's hard to gauge, but
Well, let's see. Gaara has another Water Elemental, and he can start picking up some good trades here, getting some free kills, and remember that Mad Scientist ended up paying for itself, so in a way, that Shieldbot did not go 2-for-1. You also don't freeze a minion through Divine Shield, right? So that Shielded Minibot will be okay.
no, because it's any minion damaged by this creature, or anything damaged by this creature's frozen. So Divine Shield does not damage the creature.
Right.
Or the face.
Big Game Hunter played. Doesn't seem like there's much other than Dr. Boom.
No.
And I think Savjz plays too, BGH.
Yeah. So he's a little bit more
I've got the
lenient.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
the
you
second
should
one.
be.
Could be a little bit more liberal with those BGs.
What's really annoying about an Aldered Peacekeeper or a neutered version of Water Elemental, it still freezes, so you lose an attack if you trade into it unnecessarily.
Yeah, and against Paladin, that's that's super annoying.
Water
Almost as
Elementals
annoying
are,
as Warrior.
yeah, definitely really powerful and annoying.
And also because they have high health total, so even if you have to use them to clear out dudes, they still preserve a lot of their health.
But Gaara's in a pretty good spot. I mean, Sludge Belcher allows you to also trade so effectively on the board, kill the Peacekeeper. What can really Savjz do?
And if he can't deal with the Sledge Belcher this turn, then he can Echo, but he will be able to. And Muster for Battle with Quartermaster in hand, he's going to be able to Hero Power this turn, Hero Power next turn, and if it even just one or two of those dudes survive, which I don't think any of them will survive actually, he could get value out of it.
Yeah, this is definitely a powerful Echo play. don't think you can ask for much more.
Yeah, you can still deal with the board even if you use Echo. So there's not going to be really many other better opportunities where you can use it and still be able to answer the opponent. So nicely done.
Uh-oh, Savjz is definitely fallen super far behind. Echo Medivh is such a blowout card sometimes, too.
Yeah.
He's wondering if he should freeze the weapon at all to prevent it from getting an easy kill. Use the minion to trade into the 1-1.
It can be Echo Medivh can be fantastic when you're ahead and can be pretty devastating when you're behind.
Oh, well, I think he's going to slightly regret that.
Reporting for duty. To arms, men!
Well, that's about as much quartermaster value as you can ask for right there. You know,
Well, considering
that's
how
something
well
with.
Mage controlled the board,
Yeah.
Gaara's in a dominant spot now. Still needs to be careful about how much the board can be pressed for its advantage, but once he stabilizes, it's going to be difficult for Savjz to be able to control it until he gets his consecration. He does have 2 equalities.
How much do you think mind control is playing into Gaara's plays right now? Mind control tech.
Oh, it definitely is. Mind Control Tech is such a powerful swing card right now.
And a lot of players are putting it into.
So Gaara is tempting Savjz to give him a duplicate on his owl.
Okay. It's still
That way he
freezing
can
the
silence
face.
Tyrion and a bunch of other stuff in the
Yeah.
deck. Now remember, this deck from Savjz is a super greedy late game paladin deck. He's got double lay on hands and he's got very slow decks in general today.
So he does have a secret active. That was the second mirror entity, I do believe. So he tests for duplicate.
Let me think.
And now he doesn't really have too many great.
Oh, okay, my apologies. I thought he had duplicate up. He played mirror entities.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Reporting for duty.
gets him closer to being able to use mind control tech, but it's still having double equality in his hand is just pretty dead. Gaara just has so much card advantage at this point with the good echo that he was able to get off. The water elementals he knows are going to be really tough for him to deal with as the game progresses.
What to do? What to do?
This is another interesting decision from Gaara. He can choose to go a little bit more gung-ho, or he can still play this pretty slow and systematic, play around mind control tech. I still think you'd rather just wait for Paladin to show their equality. Some people prefer to be more aggressive about it, but I like Azure Drake going for the cards, trade in, play around mind control tech. Seems to be a very comfortable medium. Yep. Don't even play this Gold Sheriff Footman.
That's a very weird looking gold sheriff foot.
It's a Gold Sheriff Footman that's been dumped by the Nickelodeon goop.
The slime.
Yep.
Such a weird thing for Nickelodeon.
Dr. Boom sounds a lot like me after watching that Kit Kats game.
Actually, that's really true.
Yeah.
You were cackling like a madman.
I had no idea how to contain myself. Physically or emotionally. Or spiritually. I think Sneasel Shredder is my Lord and Savior.
You gonna form a cult?
What to
Don't
do?
speak about
What to do?
my Messiah like that, man.
I'm sorry.
Heathen.
I'm very culturally accepting.
I know.
What to do?
You made that abundantly clear.
What added to that was Dan actually looked at me and raised his eyebrows when he said it.
I guess he's not gonna use polymorph on Dr. Boom. He's gonna save it for Tyrion.
Yeah, I think that's smart choice.
These control matches are starting to get pretty close to ending, though. Or this control match, rather. You know what's so interesting to me? It's like, even if I have no weapon or I'm a class that can't even use weapon, I still hate being frozen. Like, if I'm like a priest, I hate a snow chugger hitting my face, and even though it means absolutely nothing.
Why is that?
I don't know, it's just like...
Did you have a traumatizing experience when you were younger?
Yes, I was trapped in the snow when I was young.
Trapped in a giant block of ice. Had to be saved.
Yeah. That's right. I sexually identify with the glacier.
Wouldn't that mean you'd
Well,
wanna be
actually,
frozen?
Gaara is in danger of dying himself. Silencing that Dr. Boom was a pretty clutch play. Equality also heals it, too, if you silence it afterwards. There's some interesting puzzles where I remember seeing people utilize equality, like your minion would be at 2 health, you equality and heal it back up to like 5 or 6 or something.
Yeah.
What to do? What to do?
Well,
So Gaara getting punished for not polymorphing earlier.
yeah, he's got a handful of cards, and
He can stall for a little bit of time with his slime, actually. His slime plus the hero power is 3 mana and should delay at least 6 damage.
What to do? What to do?
Little does he know there's actually another equality.
okay. So,
Oh, he has a big game hunter in the deck too, so. He'd rather polymorph the effect.
oh wow. So draws a second piloted Sky Golem off the top
That was
here.
like, Pilot Sky Golem to the rescue! And just like flew in.
And now he's at 4 health. He does have Antique Healbot. But if he plays Antique Healbot here,
Reporting for duty.
and like plays a Sledge Belcher, then he would be at risk for dying, even through the Sledge Belcher.
Right, the equality.
Oh yeah, he could equality push through with 1 creature and then.
No, he'll be okay. He'll be okay if he plays Antique Healbot and Sludge Belcher.
Oh yeah. Because he would have to use. Well,
Maybe he can squeeze in a better tempo play by Antique Healbot and then using his the Frostbolt, and you can develop something else instead.
then he could
Shade next Ramus.
he could even like hero power and slime just for a little bit.
It's tough. It's actually tough. There's so many ways that you can die. I do think Frostbolt is a better time buyer, though. So then what does Savjz need to get lethal? Silence?
Ooh. Well, I think Lay on Hands is pretty clutch.
Right.
Because he's actually getting low himself. He's at 12 health.
Yeah, that's true.
And he needs answers as well. So he puts himself in a little bit better position.
Alright, we've seen enough of you, Kale.
Yeah.
You can sit this one out.
Get out of here.
Reporting for duty.
Sneeds for life.
That polymorph sheep has been there for multiple turns, by the way. Ah, an explosive sheep.
Oh,
It does open him up, but as long as he can keep freezing the face, maybe. Too many variables, though. I think he might have to pop the Sky Golem first to see what happens from it.
Yeah. So if he, in theory, if he explosive sheep threw the slimes into the Dr. Boom and then killed his own explosive sheep and freeze the face and anti-Healbot it,
Well, it depends on what comes out of the
Yeah.
Sky Golem.
I guess so. But there's no real option here because that play, he can't do that play anymore if he throws one of the slimes or pings the Paladin Sky Golem.
Yeah, that's a good point. I still think you need to evaluate.
Yeah.
All right, the Lost Tall Strider.
That's above average stats for a 4-mana creature.
Yeah. Slightly above average. I think TKO bot will definitely come out here. Maybe the Shade as well. If he wants to play around man control tech, though, he doesn't. So he does. Another heads-up play from Gaara, but at the same time, I feel like he's just holding on to the inevitable. Kel'Thuzad coming out here is going to be really devastating.
Yeah, it's just super problematic because now he can't clear the Dr. Boom off efficiently, and if he doesn't... Has he used a second polymorph?
I don't know if he has a second polymorph in this deck.
Yeah, it's possible that he doesn't, but other than that, he doesn't have a way to deal with it. Big Game Hunter doesn't deal with a Kel'Thuzad.
No.
He can't deal with it, actually.
No, I think he's dead.
Wow. And I just want to point out that this is actually another strength of Mind
Wow.
Control tech.
Oh
Even
my
though it was
goodness.
never played in the game, it
The threat of
delayed
it.
the game long enough just by the threat of it for Savjz to be able to take control. And
Wow.
just like that, he's going
Paladin.
to take a 2-0 lead.
Great play
in the
from
series.
Savjz. Both of these players are actually playing at an enormously high level right now.
Oh, yes.
Despite the fatigue, I feel like this is one of the more impressive technical plays. Because just look at the way they've planned their turns out.
Mhm.
Really impressive. But Savjz the one who's up 2-0 and on the verge of victory to go to the finals against KitKats.
Yeah. And the last matchup was Savjz's
Druid
versus
Paladin.
Gaara's Paladin.
Gaara's gonna have to win 3 in a row here.
Well, we've seen it happen today, and it was actually Savjz who pulled it off. So Savjz has actually won his last 5 games in a row.
Yeah, he's on a roll for sure. But he looks pretty fatigued.
Letting out a couple yawns in that last series.
Definitely.
Looking pretty tired.
Gaara's trying to stay up with an energy drink, seeing if he can stay diligent and awake.
Where's
It's tough.
Gaara
It's
again?
tough to win this matchup if you're the Druid, but I think it's definitely doable. It's much better if it's ramp than it is fast Druid, and I think that's one of the tickets there. That Savjz has a slower ramp Druid, and if there's not enough pressure or power to push through the big taunts, and your qualities have to get used up on just a small amount of targets, I think there's a way for Druid to definitely take this match and Savjz win 3-0.
Where's Gaara from again?
Gaara's from Germany, but
Germany?
his nationality is Bosnian.
Okay.
Savjz is from Finland.
Yeah. Which one's further east?
Bosnia, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. Bosnia is towards like the southern east part of Europe. I
Yeah,
think.
it's very,
Yeah, it's by like Hungary,
it's in,
Romania.
yeah, it's one of the further Eastern European countries.
Your American is showing, TJ.
I actually have a really good grasp of European geography.
Yeah?
It's just hard for me to picture since Finland's so far north. It's hard for me to like line it up in my head on a on a map.
Gotcha.
But
I would assume that it's definitely more east, but
Yeah.
you're talking about time zone. You think it's an hour ahead or something, or what?
probably. I think it's close, but I actually used to play a lot of custom maps in StarCraft Brood War, and Diplomacy was one of the
man,
main
those games
custom maps that
lasted
I used to
forever.
play. I learned a lot about European geography through playing the Diplomacy custom map in StarCraft Brood
Good
War.
times. Good times.
Yeah.
I never played too much of that Diplomacy or like Lord of the Rings stuff.
Helm's Deep.
Helm's Deep.
Helm's Deep join
No, I
now.
played those Madness games.
I will fight with honor.
I played like
Catch the wild.
The Simpsons Madness.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
I mean, you're
Where
like, you have
where
to
you
start
spawn
off with
in a base
Zerglings,
and
they're
then
all
you-
like bards, and then
Yeah.
they level up to Lisas or something.
I played the micromanaging game where you had to like micro a ling. What was that called?
Defense.
No, you just had you were just a Zergling.
Oh, Abound.
Yeah. And you just had to like go these little challenges. It was all about your
yeah. It's all
your
about timing
microplay.
and execution
Yeah.
and stuff. Fun stuff. Well, I mean, that was all the precursor to what inevitably led to a bunch of mods and custom maps and and then eventually Hearthstone.
Yeah.
Hearthstone actually is accessible in WoW. If you go to like a tavern, you can play Hearthstone. I don't think you can play Hearthstone.
It's actually a reward from missions. There's actually in
Yeah.
Garrisons, which is a new feature in World of Warcraft. Ben Brode walks around your garrison and sells Hearthstone board and Hearthstone accessories.
That's funny.
They're actually really expensive. He sells them for like 500 gold, which for like a small toy is actually quite expensive. So.
Is 500 gold a lot in WoW?
Not right now, but like for a small like novelty toy, like all it does is say, blah 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 plays Hearthstone, and that's it. Like that's what the toy does.
That's awesome. I'd do that.
You should play WoW and just.
No.
Okay, sorry, base for
Wild growth is just the strongest it is here. I agree with not using hero power just for the efficiency of it. Interesting that he's so anxious to get the zombie chow in to control the board. This is how much Savjz respects the paladin and like what it can do.
Yeah, he knows that as long as he controls early, that he'll be in a good spot once against later, once he can get those big drops out.
Right.
And this is a heavy ramp from Savjz. Like he plays Ancient of Wars and very taunt heavy with double Sentient Shieldmaster. But he also plays one copy of the combo.
Oh.
He actually played that so quickly that it didn't even have time to register in his hand.
Yeah. That or Senjin is just an intention. Well, I don't want to see it. Because then he'll hear me.
An attention
And then
troll.
the Senjin will come after me.
You already have nightmares about Sneed's old shredders and Kel'Thuzad's parachuting into your room. You don't need nightmares of Sentient Shieldmasters.
Good times. Shit, next Rammus. Pretty valuable to just build up. Doesn't look like Paladin has a way to immediately kill it off right now. Oh, hold that thought.
Well, he could.
It's definitely hard though. You have 3 juggles. They have to hit 50-50. 2 of them have to do it.
And Gaara expended a lot of his good fortune
In Series 1.
in Series 1. So we'll see if it's continuing here. Bold call.
Nope.
Reporting for duty.
No, here we
Oh!
go. No.
And this plays pretty heavily
Yeah.
into swipe.
Yeah.
Yikes.
I think you want to. Do you want to swipe the face? So that way you can get a little bit more damage in?
If you're playing combo, yes. Actually, I think regardless, yes.
Well, you know, if you're playing Ramp Druid with no combo, I don't think there's any pressure. You
Yeah.
actually want to minimize the damage you take.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's a great point. You're
Oh
not-
man, Gaara's really in an awkward spot now.
Oh,
Harrison Jones gets challenged by the Shade next turn. Shield bot doesn't do much.
Reporting for duty.
And Savjz is in a pretty dominant spot here. Ancient of War will go uncontested.
yeah, and if he doesn't have a way to deal with it right away, like if he doesn't draw into an equality,
It's always scary though, because you know, what if it gets Black Knighted? What if it gets
Yeah.
easily wrecked?
I think you still have to force your opponent to have it in that situation.
Play around Black Knight, uproot.
I actually found myself in a situation last night after the broadcast in Druid where it was the only time I've ever played Ancient of War with uproot.
It's not as uncommon as you might think. For example, against Hunter, it's like the only way you can win is to uproot and
Yeah.
race him for
Yeah, it was
10 damage.
It was against Freeze Mage.
Okay. Oh yeah, that also is
Yeah.
another scenario too.
So I realized that the only way that I was going to win is if I pushed through damage. I actually ended up losing that game anyway.
Yeah.
But,
It felt cool.
yeah, well, yeah,
As long as you hit with it once.
I did hit with it once. And then I lost the following turn, so.
Oh man. Gaara is in such big trouble here. He still can't push through the taunt here.
I mean, it's still a little bit early, but just not being able to deal with that might even
He's
just seal
losing
the
too
game.
much momentum on board.
Yeah.
This is one of the challenges, right? The Paladin's given up. Like, it doesn't have a lot of those really strong things. Like, before, it used to have incredible spot removal with, like, Elder Peacekeeper and Kodo or Humility. Like, now it's replaced it with Quartermaster and the Muster for battle. So as a result, a lot of the synergies across to control the board has been reduced for snowballing your cards to have a lot of damage.
Yeah.
That is a nasty draw. Ancient of Lores, like, just adding insult to injury here.
He's got to think about it for a second because he doesn't want to miss an opportunity to be able to cleanly clear the board. But it's a pretty easy choice.
He just has. He's also looking to maybe just pick up combo and win.
Yeah.
Yep. So can Gaara do anything from here? Hoghammer doesn't do much. He might be able to stay alive with Lay on hands. Emphasis on might.
But that's his entire turn.
Right.
Well, he picks up a quality, but it might not even
Oh,
matter.
actually he's dead. His Force of Nature is 6 damage from the hand, and Savjz is going to go to the finals because there's just no way for him to actually not die.
Wow.
So, very quick series, despite the fact that I was talking about how strong the technical play was, but looks like it wasn't even close.
Yeah.
Even despite that, it just happens. Looks like Savjz is going to go to the finals, and Gaara will get stopped in the semifinals, which means one of 2 players between him and KitKat will be going to the LAN.
Yep. Well played by Gaara. Unfortunately, since it's the last week, nobody but the winner gets any sort of benefit. So, a little heartbreaking to lose at that point, but he had a good day. Only 3-0 series of the day prior to this one.
Yep.
And you got to take something away from that.
Yeah, he beat a Maz, a pretty tough opponent, and 3-0 convincingly. He also lost 0-3, so overall very middle-of-the-road experience for him. Savjz, in the meantime, he's hanging out like a champ, and we have one final series to determine who is coming to February LAN. Will it be an American, or will it be a European?
The ultimate
struggle continues.
Yes, the ultimate rivalry.
I'm looking forward
NA
to it,
versus
because I'm having a feeling that we're going to have some really fun moments in that series. Savjz is another player that also played a lot of Warrior back in the day, too.
Yep.
Just FYI.
Indeed.
That series was brought to you by our wonderful partners over at Cooler Master Newegg, Crucial and Western Digital. Check out all their cool products here. It supports, it keeps the lights on here, supports us, and if you click on the link and just browse through some of the sales or just check out any of their cool stuff, you might find something that you like and support Hearthstone Esports. Another person who's supporting Hearthstone Esports is Plantronics. They've been giving away gear with their headsets as well as expert packs so that you guys can open up your collections. Maybe you can open up your own Sneasel Shredder or dust it. You can find out how throughout the breaks. We're going to go to a quick commercial. When we come back, we're going to have the finals for Week 8 here at the Legendary Series. Stay tuned.